Paul, there is increasing opposition to Israel, driven in part by the ongoing conflict in Gaza. How are lawmakers addressing those concerns?
Thank you, Esther. In international relations and public diplomacy, there is often a quote attributed to the former British Prime Minister called John Henry Temple, who once said there are no permanent enemies and no permanent friends, but rather permanent interests. In this context, it could not be further from the truth. You have a U.S. Congress that is looking at Israel. The optics don't look good. You have Democrats suffering in the polls. So they're trying to do everything humanly possible to turn that tide into their favor. So that's why former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has joined 40 other Democrats in opposition to the continuing support of the Biden administration towards Israel. They want the administration to halt present, rather current and future weapons transfer to Israel as soon as possible.
Paul, the Republican-led House is also moving forward with articles of impeachment against the Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. What more are you learning about these articles?
That's correct. It's more of a procedural move. They are going to do that tomorrow, Wednesday. And once these articles of impeachment reach the Senate, it will be up to the Senate to decide whether they go forward with the trial of the Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas, or they go to full trial. And what that means is that they are going to look at the Senate will be transformed into a court of sorts that has to hear the case. And if they decide to impeach the Homeland Secretary, then he will become the first secretary to be impeached in 150 years.
That would be a record. Now, a motion, Paul, to vacate the position of House Speaker is also being considered for the current occupant, Mike Johnson. What are the issues here?
This is deja vu again. We just went through this maybe about 6 months ago when his predecessor, Kevin McCarthy, was ousted by his rivals or the conservative group within the Republican Party. We are here again facing a similar situation. Republican Marjorie Taylor Greene has come up with a motion that he wants Speaker Mike Johnson to vacate his speakership. What does that mean? Maybe let me put it in context for some of our viewers. It means that any member of Congress can come up with a motion to vacate. And what that means is that once the motion is laid on the floor, then there is no speaker. They have to elect a new speaker. So the challenge that lies ahead for Mike Johnson is, can he manage to convincingly maybe avoid being impeached by his counterparts? So that remains to be seen as we go forward. But certainly that's something that is on the table as we speak.
And quickly, Paul, how are lawmakers addressing the key bridge collapse in Baltimore, Maryland?
That's another contentious issue. When President Joe Biden announced that the federal government was going to fund the repairs for the collapsed bridge in Baltimore, Maryland, he did not consult Congress, and Congress has to approve funds for that bridge. So there's also already Congress has been dealing with a lot of funding issues with regard to Ukraine, with regard to Israel. Now the issue of Baltimore, it's very, very contentious indeed, and we'll see how that plays out going forward.